All right, so sorry, the recording cut out. So what I was pointing out at the very end is when Octavius said that, I thought it was just an interesting line, right? Because he's saying that some people who smile at us are in fact plotting against us, even though Mark Antony maybe isn't like plotting against Lepidus, isn't like the way that the conspirators were. I do think maybe we saw a little bit of a difference in him, right? Just that he said, that they would use him and then get rid of him. Like, I don't know. He says, I don't know if he should really be a ruler with us. And I thought, that's an interesting, right? Octavius was very kind and like stuck up for Lepidus, right? Just interesting, right? The way that the characters, they're starting to turn all against each other. And we're going to see what else happens. So Act 4, Scene 2, it says a drum plays, and then Brutus, Lucius, and the soldiers enter. All right, so there's a bunch of people coming on stage. Brutus says, stop. And Lucilius says, pass on the command to halt. And Brutus says, what's happening now? Is Cassius nearby? And he says, he's nearby, and Pandarus has come to salute you on behalf of his master. Brutus says he sends his greetings through a good man. Your master, Pandarus, so Cassius, right, is his master, either because he's changed his mind or been influenced by bad officers, has made me wish we hadn't done some of the things we did. If he's nearby, I want an explanation. So Brutus is having a little bit of second thoughts, right? He says he wants to talk to Cassius. He's feeling like a little unsure about the way things are turning out. Pandarus says, I have no doubt that my noble master will prove himself to be what he is, honorable and noble. Brutus says, I don't doubt him. Can I have a word with you, please? Right, and he takes Lucilius aside. Tell me how Cassius treated you. Put my mind at rest. So he says, let me know. Like, is Cassius kind of treating you the same as he's treating me? Brutus wants to figure out. Lucilius says, he received me with courtesy and sufficient respect, but not with affection, nor with as much open and friendly conversation as he once greeted me. Brutus says, you've described a warm friend who's cooling off. Remember this, Lucilius, when a friend starts to get sick of you, he treats you artificially. Plain and simple loyalty doesn't make anyone act phony. But insincere men, like horses who are too lively at the start of a race, make a big show of their spirit. And when push comes to shove, they droop like these horses that are all show and slow to a crawl. And because we heard like some drums and soldiers coming, he goes, is his army approaching? So Brutus is saying that, like, everyone's gung-ho at the beginning, right, of a race. Like, everyone's raring to go. Everyone's going to go out there fastest. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, charge. But then sometimes the ones that aren't as strong or the ones that aren't really, like, in it, they kind of start to drop off. So we'll see what happens. Lucilius says they plan to spend the night in Sardis. The larger part, the main body of cavalry, are coming with Cassius. Brutus says, look, he's arrived. March to meet him at a dignified pace. And then you see Cassius come in with his army. And he says, halt. Brutus says, halt, pass the order along. And they all start saying, halt, like letting it go down, kind of like the chain to stop. Cassius says, most noble brother, you have done me wrong. Brutus says, let the gods judge me. Do I mistreat even my enemies? No. Oh, well, You mistreated Caesar, right? How could I possibly wrong a brother? How ironic of a statement, you guys, right? Very easily, apparently, with what he did to Caesar. Cassius says, Brutus, your sober expression is a mask to hide the fact that you've wronged me. And when you do, Brutus says, Cassius, calm down. We know each other well, and you can speak your grievances quietly. Let's not argue here in front of both of our enemies, which ought to see nothing but love between us. Order them back. Then in my tent you can elaborate on your complaints and I'll listen. So Brutus is saying, like, I don't want, the soldiers and everyone to see us arguing and like get this idea about like, the tension between us. Like, let's act like we really like each other and then we'll go deal with this like behind closed doors. Cassius says, Pindarus, order your commanders to lead their charges a little ways away from this ground. And Brutus says, Lucilius, you do the same and don't allow anyone to come into our tent until we've finished our conference. Have Lucilius and Titinius guard the door. This will be interesting. You're putting two murderers together in a room who are a little upset with each other. I'm just wondering what's going to happen. So Act 4, Scene 3. So everyone kind of leaves the stage, right? Brutus and Cassius are there on stage, and now like they're in their tent. Cassius says, my evidence that you've wronged me is that you condemned and disgraced Lucius Pella for taking bribes here from the Sardinians, and you ignored my letters where I argued that he was innocent. I know the man. Brutus says, you've wronged yourself to write on behalf of such a man. So Cassius is saying, like, you shouldn't have stuck up for him. Or Brutus said, you shouldn't have stuck up for him. Cassius says, in a time like this, it doesn't make sense to criticize every offense. Brutus says, I'll tell you, Cassius, you yourself have been called greedy and been accused of giving your positions to undeserving men in exchange for gold. Cassius says, me, greedy? If you were anyone other than Brutus, that speech would be your last. Brutus says, the name of Cassius gives credit to these corrupt actions, and so they go unpunished. Cassius says, unpunished? Brutus says, remember March 15th, didn't great Caesar bleed for the sake of justice? Who among us stabbed him for any cause but justice? What, did one of us strike down the most powerful man in the world in order to support robbers? Should we now dirty our fingers with lowly bribes and sell the mighty offices that we hold for whatever money we can get our hands on? I'd rather be a dog and howl at the moon than be that kind of Roman. So Brutus, all right, if you're not picking up what's going on, Cassius is supporting a particular person, okay? And Brutus is saying, that guy is really a bad guy. You should not be supporting him, right? And Cassius is kind of like, who are you to be telling me this, right? And Brutus is like, we killed Caesar for the name of justice. So Brutus in his head really does think that he was helping Rome. And Cassius is a little, watch what he says. He says, Brutus, do not provoke me. I will not take it. You're forgetting yourself when you back me into a corner. I'm a soldier more experienced than you and better able to give orders. So Cassius is saying, don't you come across at me, right? I am better than you and basically like I can kick your butt.